The galaxy had known peace for 15,000 years. Not a single war. Not a single battle between species. The Galactic Concord had brought together 847 different alien races under one rule: cooperation, trade, and respect for all life. They had built stations across the stars. They had shared technology and medicine. They had created something beautiful. Humanity had joined this great family only 200 years ago. To the ancient species of the Concord, humans were like babies taking their first steps. They were curious and emotional. They laughed too loud and cried too easily. They formed strange attachments to pets and plants and each other. Most of all, they seemed unusually protective of their young ones. The other species found this interesting but not important. Admiral Park, At. Suho commanded Research Station Dandelion on the edge of Concord space. He was 63 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too much paperwork and not enough adventure. The station floated near a beautiful purple nebula that scientists wanted to study. 3,000 people lived there, including researchers, engineers, soldiers, and their families. The station also had a school. 400 children lived on Dandelion, and they filled its metal halls with noise and life. Admiral Park loved walking past the school in the mornings. He could hear the children singing or arguing or laughing. It reminded him why they explored the stars in the first place. His daughter, Lieutenant Park Yuna, served as his tactical officer. She was 31, sharp-minded, and quick with solutions. She had her mother's smile, though her mother had passed away 5 years ago. Yuna had a son named Do-Yan, 9 years old, with messy hair and a gap-toothed grin. The boy loved building model ships and asking his grandfather calm, impossible questions about aliens. Do-Yan's best friend was a girl named Ji-Woo. She was 8 years old. Quiet but brave, with long black hair, she always tied in a ponytail. Her mother, Kong Mai-Rei, worked as the station's chief engineer. Mai-Rei was a small woman with strong hands and a stronger mind. She could fix anything. The joke on the station was that if Mai-Rei could not repair it, it was not broken, it was dead. Life on Dandelion was peaceful. The children went to school. The scientists studied their nebula. The soldiers had little to do except run drills and complain about the food. Admiral Park often thought he would retire here, watching his grandson grow up among the stars, far beyond Concord space. Another civilization watched humanity with great interest. The Velith Dominion had existed for 40,000 years. They were tall beings with pale blue skin and 4 arms. They valued logic above all things. Emotions were weaknesses to be studied and controlled. They had never joined the Concord because they believed themselves superior to its members. The Velith had been observing humans since first contact. They found these small, soft creatures fascinating. Humans could adapt to almost any environment. They could push their bodies beyond normal limits when motivated. They formed complex emotional bonds that seemed to make them stronger, not weaker. The Velith scientists wanted to understand how this worked. The High Arbiter of the Velith Dominion was named Kelvoth. He ruled with cold precision and absolute authority. When his scientists requested living human subjects for research, he approved without hesitation. But he was not foolish. He knew that taking adult humans might cause political problems with the Concord. Children, however, were different. Children were small and could not fight back. The Concord would protest, of course. There might be angry messages and trade restrictions, but the Velith calculated that humans would eventually accept the loss. All species did. The galaxy was too big and too peaceful for anyone to risk war over a few missing young ones. They chose Station Dandelion because it was remote and poorly defended. The Velith assault team used technology the Concord had never seen. They created tiny holes in space itself, allowing them to step from their ship directly into the station's corridors. They moved like ghosts in the night cycle. When most of the station slept, the Velith did not kill anyone. That would have been inefficient and might have provoked a stronger response. Instead, they used gas that made people sleep and devices that blocked all communications. They walked through the school dormitory with scanners, selecting children who met their research requirements. Doyan woke up when a cold hand touched his face. He saw a tall blue figure standing over his bed. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. The last thing he saw was Jiwoo being carried away by another Valith. Her eyes wide with fear, but her body unable to move. The Valith took 127 children that night. They placed them in pods filled with soft gel that kept them asleep and safe for transport. To the Velith, this was a clean operation. No deaths, no unnecessary damage. The humans would be upset, but they would recover. All species recovered eventually. By morning, the assault team had returned to their ship and jumped away into deep space. They left behind sleeping guards, confused parents, and 127 empty beds. When Admiral Park Soo-ho woke to the screaming alarms, felt something cold settle in his chest. He ran to the school before anyone could give him a report. He needed to see. He needed to know. The dormitory was chaos. Parents pushed past each other, calling names, checking beds, hoping they were wrong. Kong Mai-rei stood in the center of the room, holding Ji-woo's stuffed rabbit. She was not crying. She was not screaming. She simply stood there, staring at the empty bed where her daughter had slept. Admiral Park found Do-yoon's bed. The sheets were still warm. His grandson's model ship sat on the small table beside the pillow, half finished. Park picked it up with shaking hands. Lieutenant Yuna appeared beside him. Her face was pale, but her voice was steady. "Father, they took him. They took my son." Park looked at his daughter. He looked at the other parents, some crying, some silent, all broken in ways that would never fully heal. He looked at the stars through the viewport. Somewhere out there, holding 127 stolen children, 15,000 years of peace had just ended. The Velith simply did not know it yet. The first hour after the attack was filled with screaming and crying and desperate searches. Parents ran through every corner of the station, hoping their children were hiding somewhere, hoping this was all a terrible mistake. But the empty beds told the truth. The Velith had been thorough. Admiral Park forced himself to think clearly. Grief could come later. Rage could come later. Right now, 127 children needed him to be a commander, not a grandfather. He called his senior officers to the command center and began organizing the response. The Velith had disabled the communication systems. Kong Mai-rei was already working on repairs. She had not spoken a single word since finding her daughter's empty bed. She simply walked to the engineering bay, picked up her tools, and started working. Other engineers tried to help, but she waved them away. Her hands moved with frightening speed and precision. Within 3 hours, Mai-rei had communications running again. Within 6 hours, she had done something that should have taken weeks. She had analyzed the energy traces left behind by the Velith jump technology and figured out how it worked. She handed Admiral Park a data chip containing the enemy's jump signature. "I can track where they went," she said. Her voice was flat and empty. "I can find my daughter." Park looked at this small woman who had not slept, had not eaten, had not cried. He saw something in her eyes that he recognized. It was the same thing he felt burning in his own chest. It was not anger. Anger was too simple a word. It was something older and darker, something that humans had carried since they first walked on Earth. Across the station, other parents were changing too. Dr. Shin Yeon-ji was a xenobiologist who spent her days studying alien plant life. She was gentle and soft-spoken, the kind of person who apologized to flowers when she had to cut them for samples. Her twin daughters, age 7, had been taken. Now Yoonji sat in her laboratory, pulling up every file the Concord had on Velith biology. She studied their bone structure, their nervous system, their organs. She made notes about weaknesses and pressure points. When a colleague asked what she was doing, Yoonji looked up with red-rimmed eyes. "I am learning where it hurts the most," she said. Sergeant Baek Junho worked in the station's kitchen. He was a large man with a round belly and a warm laugh. The children loved him because he always snuck them extra dessert. For 15 years, he had been nothing but a cook. Nobody knew about his past. After the attack, Junho walked to the armory and entered a code that should have been deleted from the system years ago. He opened a locker containing weapons and equipment that officially did not exist. Then he gathered the civilian parents in the cargo bay. "Before I was a cook, I was something else," he told them. Some of you were soldiers once. Some of you were not. It does not matter now. I am going to teach you how to fight. I am going to teach you how to get our children back." 23 parents signed up in the first hour. By the end of the day, there were over 100. Admiral Parks sent a message to Earth using every emergency channel available. The message was short because it needed to be. The words were simple because complicated words would only slow things down. They took our children. On Earth, the message reached military command at 3 in the morning. Within 1 hour, every admiral and general had been woken up. Within 2 hours, the president of the United Human Alliance was addressing an emergency council. Within 6 hours, orders went out to every human ship in the galaxy took them home. All of you now. The Galactic Concord noticed almost immediately. Human trade ships were abandoning their routes. Human diplomats were leaving negotiations mid-sentence. Human scientists were packing their equipment and heading for the nearest human station. The aliens sent confused messages asking what was happening. Ambassador Ohana was humanity's voice in the Concord Council. She was 58 years old, with silver streaks in her black hair and a reputation for patience and calm. She had spent 30 years building friendships with alien species. She had believed in peace with her whole heart. When the council demanded an explanation, she stood before them without notes, without preparation. Without her usual diplomatic smile, "One of your species. The Velith attacked our station," she said. "They took 127 children, human children. They took them for research." The council chamber filled with murmurs. Counselor Thren, a tall being with feathers instead of hair, spoke first. "This is terrible, Ambassador. We will send a strongly worded protest to the Velith Dominion. We will demand the children's return through proper channels." "Proper channels," Hannah repeated. Her voice was quiet, but carried to every corner of the room. "How long will proper channels take, Counselor?" "These matters are delicate. Perhaps 6 months to a year for initial negotiations. Our children do not have a year." Anna stepped forward. "You have lived in peace for 15,000 years. You have forgotten what conflict looks like. You see our smiles and our curiosity and our silly emotions, and you think you understand us." She paused, looking at each council member in turn. "You do not understand us? We joined your Concord because we wanted peace. We traded with you because we liked you. We explored with you because we were curious. But none of that means we forgot what we are. None of that means we lost what made us survive on our own world for thousands of years." The chamber was silent now. No one had ever heard Ambassador O speak like this. "We are going to get our children back," she said. "You can help us, or you can stay out of our way. But understand this, clearly nothing in this galaxy will stop us. Not the Velith, not the Concord, not 15,000 years of peace. Those children are coming home, even if we have to burn a path across the stars to reach them." She turned and walked out of the chamber without waiting for a response. Behind her, 847 species sat in stunned silence, realizing for the first time that they had never really known humanity at all. The humans had been sleeping. Now they were awake. The Velith Dominion received news of the human response with mild interest. Their analysts studied the data and ran calculations. They predicted angry messages. They predicted economic pressure. They gave a 12% chance of limited military action against border outposts. Nothing more. High Arbiter Kelvoth reviewed the reports and felt satisfied. The operation had been clean and professional. The human children were already in research facilities being studied by the best Velith scientists. In a few years, they would understand what made humans so adaptable. The knowledge would be worth the minor political trouble. Kelvoth did not understand what he had done. He could not understand. The Velith had not fought a war in 8,000 years. They had forgotten what desperation looked like. They had never seen what happened when you threatened a human's child. Across the galaxy, the hidden truth of humanity began to show itself. For 200 years, humans had maintained what they called a ceremonial defense force. The Concord smiled at this. Humans were so young, so cute in their desire to feel protected. The alien species saw a few patrol ships and training exercises and thought they understood human military capability. They were wrong. The real human fleet had been built in secret, hidden in asteroid fields and hollow moons and stations that officially did not exist. The ships were not decorated with bright colors and ceremonial flags. They were painted black, designed for one purpose: to destroy anything that threatened humanity. Fleet Admiral Chu Taiwan was 71 years old. He had served in the human military for 50 years, all of it during peacetime. He had trained for wars that never came. He had prepared for enemies that never appeared. Every night, he had prayed that he would die without ever giving the order to attack. Now, he stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Homecoming and watched his fleet gather. 12 carrier groups, 400 destroyers, 2,000 fighter wings. Ships emerged from hiding places across human space, each one answering the same call. Our children were taken. We are coming to get them back. Taiwan looked at the tactical display and felt something he had not felt in decades. It was not excitement. It was not eagerness. It was the cold, steady focus of a predator that had finally found its prey. All ships report ready, Admiral, his communications officer said. Set course for Valath space, Taiwan ordered. Maximum speed. We stop for nothing. Back on Station Dandelion, Lieutenant Park Yuna led the reconnaissance mission. She commanded a small, fast ship designed to slip past enemy detection. Her crew was made up of volunteers, all of them parents or relatives of the taken children. They followed the jump signature that Kang Murray had decoded. It led them deep into Velith territory, past defense stations and patrol routes, until they reached a moon orbiting a gas giant. The moon was covered in metal structures. Research facilities hidden from outside view. Yuna's scanner found what she was looking for. Small life signs, 127 of them, clustered in the center of the largest building. Human children. Her son was down there, probably scared, probably wondering if anyone was coming for him. She opened a secure channel to the fleet. This is Lieutenant Park. I have located the children. All 127 confirmed alive. Transmitting coordinates now. Across the fleet, parents received the news. Their children were alive. Their children were waiting. The ships moved faster, pushing engines beyond safe limits, because safe did not matter anymore. The Galactic Concorde made one final attempt to stop what was coming. Counselor Thren personally contacted Ambassador Ohana with an urgent plea. You must stand down, Thren said. The Velith have agreed to negotiate. They will return the children within 2 years if you withdraw your fleet. 2 years, Hannah said. You want us to leave our children in cages for 2 years while you talk. It is the peaceful solution, the proper solution. If you attack the Velith, you will destroy everything the Concorde stands for. 15,000 years of peace will end because of 127 children. Hannah was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft, but carried weight that made Thren step back. I want you to understand something, Counselor. Every human ship flying toward Velith space right now is crewed by volunteers. We did not order them to go. We did not force them. They heard that children were taken, and they came. They left their homes and their jobs and their safe lives because a child they never met needed help. She leaned closer to the screen. That is what you do not understand about us. Those 127 children are not just their parents' children. They are our children. All of them. Every human feels their absence like a wound that will not heal. And we will not rest. We will not negotiate. We will not wait 2 years while some alien scientist performs experiments on them. Thren tried again. You will make enemies. The Velith are powerful. Other species may side with them out of fear. Then let them, Hannah said. Let the entire galaxy stand against us. We have fought worse odds on our own world. We have survived ice ages and plagues and wars that killed millions. We are still here. We will always be here. And we will never, ever abandon our children. She ended the communication. The human fleet crossed into Velith space on the 3rd day. Velith defense stations detected them and sent warnings. The warnings were ignored. Velith patrol ships moved to intercept. They were swept aside like leaves in a storm. High Arbiter Kelvoth finally began to understand his mistake. He watched the tactical displays showing hundreds of human ships moving toward his territory with unstoppable purpose. He saw the reports of his patrol ships being destroyed in seconds. He realized that every calculation his analysts had made was wrong. He sent a message offering to return the children. Immediately in exchange for peace, Admiral Park Suho received the message on Station Dandelion. He read it carefully, then composed his response. "You will return our children. That is not a negotiation. What happens after depends on what we find when we reach them. If they are unharmed, we may show mercy. If they are not," he paused, thinking of his grandson's half-finished model ship still sitting on the table. "If they are not, there will be no mercy. There will be no negotiation. There will only be consequences." He sent the message and returned to watching the fleet advance. The storm had gathered. Now it was about to break. The Velith had prepared their defenses well. The research moon was protected by an orbital grid of weapons platforms, each one capable of destroying a ship in a single shot. Thousands of Velith warriors waited on the surface, armed and ready. Their military commanders believed they could hold for weeks, maybe months. Long enough for negotiations to save them? They were wrong. The Battle of the Research Moon lasted 11 minutes. Fleet, Admiral Yu Taiwan, did not give speeches before the attack. He did not offer the enemy a chance to surrender. He simply looked at his officers and said 4 words: "Bring them home." The human fleet hit the Velith defenses like a hammer striking glass. Fighters swarmed the weapons platforms, sacrificing themselves to create openings for the larger ships. Destroyers poured fire into the defensive grid without stopping, without retreating, without caring about their own survival. Captain M. Sujin commanded the destroyer Swiftwind. She was 34 years old, unmarried, no children of her own. She had volunteered for this mission because her sister's son was among the taken. When her ship took critical damage, she made a decision without hesitation. "All crew to escape pods," she ordered. Now her officers protested. They wanted to stay. They wanted to fight beside her. "Our job is to make a hole in that grid," Sujin said calmly. "I am going to make a very big hole. Get to the pods." That is an order. She waited until her crew was clear, then aimed her crippled ship directly at the largest weapons platform. The swift wind hit at full speed, destroying the platform and 3 others nearby. The defensive grid collapsed. Captain Im Sujin died with her hand on the controls and a small smile on her face. She had made her hole. The landing ships came through the gap, like water through a broken dam. They dropped toward the surface, ignoring the anti-aircraft fire that filled the sky. Some ships were hit. Some crashed. The survivors kept going. Sergeant Baek Junho led the ground assault. The large man who had once been a cook moved with the grace and precision of a predator. Behind him came his volunteer army of parents, trained in 2 weeks to do what should have taken years. They were not professional soldiers. They did not move in perfect formation, but they had something the Velith had never faced before. They had absolute purpose. The Velith warriors were tall and strong, with 4 arms that could hold multiple weapons at once. They had trained for combat since birth. They had won countless battles in their long history. Against any normal enemy, they would have been terrifying. Against parents coming for their children, they were simply obstacles. The humans did not fight with tactics or strategy. They fought with everything they had. When a Velith warrior knocked down 1 human, 3 more took their place. When weapons ran empty, humans used knives. When knives broke, they used their bare hands. The Velith had never seen anything like it. Dr. Shinyeonji moved with the assault team, her gentle hands now holding a weapon she had learned to use in 7 days. She remembered every weakness she had studied, every pressure point and vulnerable organ. When a Velith blocked her path, she struck precisely where it would hurt most. The warrior fell. She stepped over him without looking back. Her daughters were waiting. Kong. Murray did not wait for the main assault to clear the facility. She found a side entrance and went in alone. Engineers were not supposed to do this. Engineers were supposed to stay behind the lines and fix things, but Mireille had stopped being just an engineer the moment her daughter was taken. She moved through the corridors using a map she had memorized from stolen Velith data. Left, right, down a level, through a door that she blasted open with a weapon she had built herself. The facility's security systems tried to stop her. She disabled them one by one, her engineer's mind finding weaknesses in seconds. She found the children in a large room filled with containment cells. They were lying on soft beds, connected to machines that monitored their vital signs. Most were still sedated, sleeping peacefully. Unaware of the battle raging outside, Mireille walked between the cells, checking faces, searching. She found Jiwoo in the third row. Her daughter was asleep, her face calm, her small hands folded on her chest. Mireille disabled the cell's force field and gathered her daughter in her arms. "I came," she whispered into Jiwoo's hair. "I told you I would come. Mama always comes." Jiwoo's eyes fluttered open. She was confused and scared, but when she saw her mother's face, she started to cry. Not from fear this time. From relief, the other children began waking up as human soldiers flooded into the room. Lieutenant Park Yuna found Dojan in a cell near the back. He was groggy, but unhurt, and when he saw his mother, he reached for her with both arms. "Mom, I knew you would find me." "Grandpa too?" "Grandpa sent the whole fleet," Yuna said, holding him tight. "He sent everyone." Outside, the battle was ending. The Velith forces had collapsed. Those who surrendered were taken prisoner. Those who fought to the end were given what they wanted. The human fleet secured the moon and began searching for any other facilities that might hold prisoners. They found none. All 127 children had been kept together, which made the rescue simpler. Every single child was recovered. Not one was left behind. The cost was high. 2,847 humans died in the battle. Soldiers, pilots, volunteers, who had never held a weapon before that week. Their names would be remembered. Their sacrifice would be honored. But not one of them in their final moments had thought the price was too high. Admiral Park Suho received a message on Station Dandelion. All children recovered. All children alive. All children coming home. He sat down heavily in his chair and finally allowed himself to cry. For his grandson, safe now. For the parents who would hold their children again. For the soldiers who had given everything so that 1 to 7 small lives could continue. The battle was over, but the consequences had only begun. The Velith Dominion surrendered 3 days after the battle. There was no negotiation, no discussion of terms. High Arbiter Kelvoth simply sent a message stating that his people accepted complete defeat. He had watched his warriors fall. He had seen his defenses crumble. He understood now what his calculations had failed to predict. The Galactic Concord demanded that Kelvoth face trial for his crimes. They wanted a formal process, judges from multiple species, arguments that could take years. The humans refused. "We do not need your courts, Ambassador," Ohana told the council. "We do not need your justice." Kelvoth made his choice. Now he will live with it. They did not execute him. They did not torture him. They simply took him to a small barren moon at the edge of nowhere and left him there with enough supplies to survive. He would live alone, surrounded by empty rocks and silent stars, with nothing but time to think about what he had done. Some called this cruel. The humans called it mercy. The children returned to Station Dandelion on a bright morning. Parents crowded the landing bay, pushing against each other, crying before the ships even opened their doors. When the first child walked down the ramp, a sound rose from the crowd that was half cheer and half sob. Doyan ran into Admiral Park's arms so hard that the old man nearly fell over. "Grandpa, I built a model ship in my head while I was sleeping. It has 12 engines and a really big cannon." Park laughed through his tears and held his grandson tight. "We will build it together. We will build 100 of them." Jiwoo walked slowly, her hand wrapped around her mother's fingers like she would never let go. Kang Mireille did not mind. She would carry her daughter everywhere for the rest of her life if that was what Jiwoo needed. Dr. Shinyanji knelt on the floor with her twin daughters in her arms. She had not slept in days. She had not eaten properly since the attack. But in that moment, holding her girls, she felt stronger than she ever had. The reunion went on for hours. Children finding parents. Siblings hugging. Friends promising never to be separated again. The station that had known such horror now overflowed with joy. But outside, Galaxy was watching, and the Galaxy was afraid. The Galactic Concord called an emergency session. Representatives from all 847 species gathered in the Great Chamber, their faces showing confusion, fear, and something close to betrayal. For 15,000 years, they had believed in peace. They had trusted each other. They had built something beautiful together. Now they had seen what humanity could do when that peace was broken. Counselor Thren spoke first, his feathered body trembling slightly. Ambassador, we must discuss what happened. Your species revealed military capabilities that far exceed what we believed possible. You hid this from us. You lied to us. Hannah stood calmly in the center of the chamber. We did not lie. We simply did not tell you everything. There is a difference. The difference is meaningless, another counselor said. You have ships that could threaten any member of the Concord. You have weapons that could destroy our worlds. How can we trust you now? How can we know you will not turn this power against us? You cannot know, Hannah said simply. That is the truth. You cannot know what we will do. You can only understand why we do it. She gestured, and a door opened at the side of the chamber. A small boy walked in, holding her hand. He was 6 years old, with round cheeks and curious eyes that looked at the alien council members with wonder rather than fear. This is my grandson, Hyun-woo, Hannah said. He is not one of the children who was taken, but he could have been. If the Velith had chosen a different station, he might be the one we were searching for. She lifted the boy and held him so the council could see his face. This is why we have hidden fleets. This is why we train for wars we hope will never come. This is why we pretend to be harmless while keeping our claws sharp. Not because we want to conquer, not because we want to destroy. Because somewhere, on some station or ship or colony, there is a child like Hyun-woo, and we will never, ever allow anything to happen to him. The chamber was silent. Hundreds of alien eyes watched the small human child, trying to understand what made him so important. You have lived in peace for 15,000 years, Hannah continued. You have forgotten what it means to protect your young with everything you have. Perhaps your species do not feel this way. Perhaps your children grow up faster, need less protection, form weaker bonds with their parents. I do not judge you for this. It is simply how you are. She set Hyun-woo down, and he clung to her leg, watching the strange aliens with wide eyes. But we are different. Our children are helpless for many years. They need us completely. And something in our blood, something older than civilization, tells us that we must protect them at any cost. When that instinct awakens, we become something else. Something dangerous. Something that does not care about treaties or trade or 15,000 years of peace. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of every species that watched her. You asked how you can trust us. The answer is simple. Do not threaten our children. Do not harm our families. Do not force us to become what we can become. Give us no reason to wake the thing that sleeps inside every human heart. You will only ever see the curious, friendly people who joined your Concord 2 centuries ago. Counselor Thren leaned forward. And if someone does threaten your children again, what then? Hannah smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Then you will see what we can do, again and again, until the entire galaxy understands that some lines must never be crossed. She took Hyun-woo's hand and walked toward the door. Before leaving, she turned back one last time. We do not want war. We never wanted war, but we will not apologize for what we are. We will not promise to be weak. We will only promise this. Treat us with kindness, and you will have no better friends in the galaxy. Treat our children with cruelty, and you will have no worse enemies. She left. The chamber remained silent for a long time. On Station Dandelion, life slowly returned to normal. The school reopened. The scientists went back to studying their nebula. The soldiers returned to their drills and their complaints about food, But something had changed. The parents looked at their children differently now. They held them a little tighter, watched them a little closer. They knew what they were capable of when those children were threatened. They knew what slept inside them, waiting. Doyan and Ji-woo sat in the station's garden, watching the stars through the viewport. They were too young to fully understand what had happened, but they knew they had been scared, and then they had been saved. They knew that their parents had come for them. "Do you think the aliens are still afraid of us?" Ji-woo asked. Doyan thought about it. "Maybe, but that is okay, as long as they leave us alone." "What if they do not leave us alone?" The boy smiled, showing the gap in his teeth. "Then our parents will come again. They always come." Gi-woo nodded and leaned against her friend. Above them, the stars continued to shine, billions of worlds filled with billions of species. All of them now knowing the truth about humanity. They were kind. They were curious. They were creative and warm. And they loved their children more than they loved peace. The galaxy would never forget this. The galaxy would never make the same mistake again. 15,000 years of peace had ended, but something new had begun. Something that might, in time, be even better. Because now the galaxy understood what humanity truly was. And understanding, as the humans like to say, was the first step toward wisdom.